Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's Breath Tune-Up. I'm Brian, joining you once again from the Meadows here at FDR Park in South Philadelphia, one of my favorite places to decompress and practice breathing. I want to thank you for sharing your self-care time to breathe with me today. I should note that I've been playing cat and mouse with the rain for the last half hour or so, and there is a chance we'll be cutting our session a little short, depending on what Mother Nature has planned for us. It certainly doesn't seem to have deterred our winged companions from joining in our session, which is always wonderful to have that company. And I should note that we'll be following a relatively familiar script today as we slow down our breathing, increase our lung capacity to better utilize the oxygen we invite into the body. We'll be releasing stress and tension wherever we find it and slowing down these monkey minds of ours. These exercises are safe for folks of all ages, body types, and experience levels, and unless I state otherwise, we'll be breathing in and out through the nose to facilitate slowing down the breath and staying present in the moment. Why don't we get started with 3 warm-up breaths. We'll bring our chicken wings up and loosen the shoulders a bit, giving these birds something to think about here. A new bird on the block, and now we'll hug those elbows in and bring them back to feel a nice stretch across the front side. Hand on the belly, hand on the chest, and we'll take a moment to allow the belly to relax, the midsection to relax. As we'll explore here in a bit, this is a critical component of our breath work, which is primarily diaphragmatic breathing, belly breathing. And as we feel the belly relax, behind the scenes, our diaphragm, the primary breathing muscle, has more room to drop as it contracts on our inhalation. So as that diaphragm drops, the lungs have more room to expand. It's really as simple as that on the mechanics front. So now on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, we'll inhale softly through the nose and exhale softly through the nose. Maybe already feeling a slower rhythm. In, feeling that belly expand into that lower hand. And out, allowing the shoulders to relax, the muscles of the face to relax. One more in, slow and low. And out, let it go. Let's return the hands to our lap or wherever they're most comfortable. And we'll fix the gaze at a point on the ground in front of us, or even close the eyes if we're comfortable doing so, and set an intention for our breath work today, calling to mind a single word representing a quality that we feel the breath work can help us with. Patience, compassion, humor, whatever it is. Let's just hold that quality in mind, and on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, we'll inhale together and inwardly repeat that word and release the breath. We'll bring some attention to our posture very quickly, bringing the ankles below the knees, shoulders back and down, chin level. And we'll begin our breath awareness practice, closing the eyes or returning them to a point on the ground or the wall in front of us. As we channel our attention to the sound of our breathing in this moment. And I like to focus the attention right at the very tip of the nose. So that's my vantage point. The very tip of the nose, that vanishing point. perhaps noticing any difference between the in-breath and the out-breath as far as the sound. Or maybe there's a difference between the air in our left and right airways. And there's no judgment here, no right or wrong. There's just that observation of a quality associated with the breath in this moment. Whether it's coarse, rough, smooth, quiet. And as we tune into the sound of our breath, we'll adopt a circular pattern to the breath, where we blend the in-breath seamlessly into the out-breath, and the out-breath seamlessly into that next in-breath. As if we were standing at a shoreline and watching the waves recede and then approach and recede and approach. Or perhaps calling to mind the symbol of the yin-yang and that seamless transition between these two principles. In and out through the nose. The breath comes, the breath goes. And now on top of or alongside the sound of the breath, we'll bring some attention to the sensation of our breathing. So how exactly does the breath feel as we invite it in through the nostrils, back into the sinuses, and maybe even down those primary airways, past the larynx and the trachea, and even into those ever smaller channels, proceeding deeper and deeper into the lungs. So let's just trace the movement of the breath deep inside, noticing how it feels alongside the sound of the breath and with the circular pattern of the breath. And I know this is a lot of instruction, but we're really just looking for something to keep us present here in the moment. And the breath is such a beautiful source or target for our attention. So feeling the breath move ever more deeply into the lungs, into those tiny little pockets we call the alveoli, where the oxygen is handed off to the bloodstream and then carried to every cell in the body. And at the same time, staying tuned into the sound of the breath, maintaining the circular pattern. And now we'll place a hand on the belly and a hand on the chest to feel the movement of the body with each breath. That tidal rhythm of the body as we invite the breath in and then release it. And as one breath instructor puts it, Leslie Kaminoff is his name, we try to avoid pushing or pulling, but rather allow the shape change of the body to provide the ideal place for the breath. So as the belly expands, like that wave approaching, we can invite the air in. And then as that belly retracts, like that wave receding, we gently release the breath. And we're starting, as you can feel, low in the midsection. And if you're feeling curious, you can bring some attention on that inhalation to perhaps areas in the upper part of the lungs. So start low and fill up those areas, maybe even up to the collarbone. And gently releasing. And as we slow down the rhythm, you may even feel that heightened level of oxygen in the bloodstream. You may feel a progressive relaxation of tension and tightness in the body, through the neck, down into the shoulders, down the length of the back. Perhaps imagining that tension melting away and rolling right down the body, right down the legs into the ground. And we'll practice our breath awareness for another 10 to 12 cycles. And I would encourage you at this point to try holding in your attention the sound of the breath, the sensation of the breath, and the movement of the body with each breath. And another 3 breath cycles. And at the base of that next breath, we can return the hands to our lap and take a few breaths at a normal rhythm. Maybe even have a sip, make any little adjustments to your posture. As we prepare for our first breath control exercise, we call the balanced breath or balancing breath, where we equalize the duration of our in-breath and out-breath, thereby balancing out our autonomic nervous system. The in-breath associated with the sympathetic side, the get up and go, the fight or flight side. The out-breath associated with the parasympathetic side, the rest and digest, restore and recover processes. When we balance those two out, we can achieve a sense of calm focus. And I can tell you here in the city of Philadelphia, there is no shortage of prompts for this balanced breath, speaking for myself. And I'm sure you encounter challenges throughout your day where you can start to feel the stress train poke its head out of the station. And this breath is a wonderful way of just maintaining a sense of equilibrium. So why don't we practice together? We'll take 3 together and then on our own for a few minutes. So on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, in through the nose. Belly expands for 1, 2, 3. And out through the nose. 1, 2, 3. Again in. 1, 2, 3. And out. 1, 2, 3. One more in. 1, 2, 3. And completely release. 1, 2, 3. We're on our own. Finding that rhythm that works best for us. Knowing that there is no correct or incorrect count here. It's just what feels best in this moment for us. We only try to balance out the in and out breaths. And we may have been doing this, breathing in this fashion, all along throughout our breath awareness practice, and that is wonderful. For those of you that have been doing that, consciously or otherwise, I would encourage you to try lengthening the duration of those in and out breaths by a count or two. So test out your threshold right to the point where you feel you're starting to pull the breath in or push it out. So right up to that threshold, that boundary. And I can feel the rain approaching. A perfect opportunity to stay balanced and focused here in our practice. And we'll just take the time provided to us. We'll make that time as we continue our balanced breath. Imagining on the inhalation that we're drawing up through the soles of our feet, up the spine and into the lungs, expanding. And then on that exhalation, grounding down, right back down the spine, through the legs, the soles of the feet. So let's try to feel the connection we have to the space. In and out through the nose. Beginning in the belly and moving up into the upper part of the lungs. And then releasing from the upper part of the lungs back down into the midsection. Feeling that tidal rhythm of the breath move through the body, connecting us to the space in which we sit, and maybe softening the boundaries between our body and this space. Which is one element of focused breathing I truly cherish, is how it can help deepen the connection, soften that connection between myself and the space surrounding me. There's one reason why I love doing it in nature, in environments like FDR Park. And I would encourage you in future sessions to perhaps step into your backyard, or if you've got a good connection, maybe into a green space available to you. But even in the safe confines of your home, your office, we can still feel the effects of a breath like the balancing breath. And we'll practice another 3 cycles at our own pace. And maybe for this last one, trying an even longer count by 1 or 2. And at the base of that next breath, we can take a few reset breaths, a palate cleanser, as it were, and we'll prepare for our next exercise, the down-regulating breath, where we extend our exhalation by a count of 1 or 2. And if you recall, that exhalation being linked to our parasympathetic side, the rest and digest, restore and recover. So as we lengthen the out-breath, we further activate those recovery processes. And this is a wonderful, wonderful breath for when we are triggered and when that stress train just charges out of the station before we're even aware of it. So when that pulse picks up and we feel a little sweat on our brow, maybe the butterflies in our belly, well, this down-regulating breath can help us quickly return to equilibrium. Why don't we practice 3 together? Hand on the belly, hand on the chest for this one. So on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, in through the nose for 1, 2, 3, and out. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Again in. 1, 2, 3, and out. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. One more in. 1, 2, 3, release. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're on our own. You can return the hands to your lap or keep them there on the belly and the chest. And let's find the count that works best for us. It can remain there at 3 and 5. You can move down to 2 and 4 if that feels appropriate. Or maybe move up to 4 and 6. We'll all have that rhythm that feels right as we look to activate that parasympathetic side and further release tension, tightness, the effects of stress as we feel them in the body. Maybe even release the grip of a persistent thought pattern, something we're feeling anxious over, something we're ruminating over. So yet another wonderful application of this down-regulating breath to loosen the grip of something on the mental side. And oftentimes those thought patterns, those ruminations, are the source of the physical aspects of our stress. And the breath helps us to understand these mind-body connections. So we'll test out, feel out a threshold for ourselves with the down-regulating breath. And the reason we had started with the hand on the belly and the chest was to gently press the belly into that lower hand, thereby increasing our lung capacity so that we have that extra volume to exhale, thereby lengthening the out-breath. So if it feels okay, bring the hand back to the belly and gently press on the inhalation into that lower hand. And then on the exhalation, maybe even gently press the belly up and in. And we'll practice our down-regulating breath for another 5 to 7 cycles, depending on your count. Feeling that connection to the space in which we sit. That connection between the mind and body. And an overall loosening and releasing and grounding. And for these last few breaths, I'd encourage you to test out a longer breath, increasing by a count or two, both the in and out breaths. And at the base of the next breath, we can return to a normal breath pattern for a moment as we prepare for our final exercise together, which is a diaphragmatic toning exercise. And you may have noticed for those last few cycles of the down-regulating breath that it almost felt as if you were wringing out a dish towel, particularly on that exhalation, pulling the belly up and in to release the air from those most remote pockets in the lungs. Now we're going to consciously try to increase our lung capacity now in this exercise by wringing out the dish towel. And we'll do so by taking a normal breath in, and then on the exhalation, several successive breaths out. So why don't we test it out together, and we'll take 5 together. Before we wrap our session, I see the storm clouds rolling in here. So, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's inhale softly through the nose. Expanding the front side. And now, release the breath. Pause. Release. Pause. Release. Pause. Release. Pause, one more. Now slowly invite the air back in, following the lead of the belly. So no gulping in of the air. And now release. Pause, release. Pause, release. Pause, release. And one more. Let it go. Follow the lead of the belly, manage that breath hunger, and now release. Pause, release. Pause, release. Pause, release. One more pause, and wring out that dish towel. Slow and low, follow the belly. Release. Pause. Release. Pause. Release. Pause. Release. Pause. Release. One more pause and wring it out. Let's take one more here. In, slow and low, expand the front side of the body. Follow the lead of the belly. Release. Pause. Release. Pause. Release. Pause. Release. Pause. Release. One more pause. One more release. And now slowly invite the air back in. Savoring all that space that we've created for the breath in the body. And let's return a hand to the belly and a hand to the chest and take a moment to feel the effects of the breath work. Perhaps feeling The slightest of pulsations of blood in the fingertips and toes. Perhaps feeling that tidal rhythm of the body with each breath cycle. And now a brief body scan to tie our work together up in a bow. You can return the hands to your lap if that feels okay. Close the eyes or fix them at a point on the ground in front of you. Relaxing the muscles around the eyes. Softening the gaze, directing it inward. Softening the muscles around the mouth. Allowing the lower jaw to relax. Softening the muscles through the neck, shoulders, and down the length of each arm. The upper arm through the elbows, the forearms through the wrists, through the palms, down the length of each finger to each fingertip. Moving down the length of the back, the upper back, middle back, lower back, feeling the hips and our sit bones planted firmly on our seats. Relaxing each leg, down the length of each leg, the upper leg through the knees, the lower legs down through the ankle. Feeling our heels planted firmly on the ground. The arches of each foot relaxed, the outer, middle, and inner arch of each foot. Feeling the balls of the feet planted in each toe and each fingertip. Maybe the slightest pulsation of blood there at the periphery of the body. And now 3 breaths to close our practice together. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, in through the nose and out through the nose. Again in, belly expands, and out, shoulders relax. One more in, slow and low, and out. Completely release the breath, let it go. We can bring the hands to heart center to acknowledge the consistency of our breathwork practice. Whether we're aware of it or not, we are breathing. And I appreciate you sharing your breathing with me today in today's tune-up. I look forward to seeing you in an upcoming session. Until then, stay safe and keep breathing.